Mastering. It's often seen as this elusive kind of process that nobody can understand unless you're a mastering engineer. Well, there are certain things that we will do to our mix to master it, to prepare it for the next step. We're talking about tonal considerations, dynamics, adding some level, anything that we can do to improve this track to get it ready for that next step for release, whether it be digital or physical releases. You may be already familiar with the Brainworx Masterdesk line. That's BX Masterdesk Classic, BX Masterdesk and BX Masterdesk True Peak. Well, today I want to show you the next in the line. This is BX Masterdesk Pro. I want to jump into a few of the new features, but first of all, I just want you to hear exactly what it can do.
She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa.
There's a significant improvement in the mastered version compared to the raw mix. So let's just have a brief overview of what the new features are in this plugin. If you've used BX Limiter True Peak before, you're going to feel right at home with Masterdesk Pro's new look. And users of BX Masterdesk and BX Masterdesk True Peak will recognize the layout. But BX Masterdesk Pro expands upon its predecessors with new functionality and greater control of your audio. Both the compressor and the limiter have been upgraded with variable release times and linking options. The limiter has new modern classic toggle switch, and the compressor now features variable ratio control. Then underneath that you have a clipper option for shaving off transients to achieve a much louder master, and a new glue feature for analog style compression to help gel the mix together. As well as the tone stack available in the previous versions, you now have a fully featured 3-band EQ section for more in-depth tonal shaping, as well as high and low pass filters, and the onboard De-Esser with expanded frequency ranges. For even more tonal control, check out the XL section for additional saturation, harmonics and colour. In BX Masterdesk Pro, you have far greater control over the mid-side processing within the plugin, with switchable stereo enhancement modes, the mono maker to keep your low end centered, and a stereo width control to let you decide how wide you want the mix to be. Now, a lot of these features are for the more pro user, and as is suggested in the title, this Masterdesk is for the pro user, the more advanced user. The original BX Masterdesk is great for users who are more creators, are producers, are perhaps dipping their toe in the mixing world, but are predominantly just looking for a one-stop shop to make their mix better, to get slightly more mastered sound. And then in BX Masterdesk True Peak, we have a few more features. This is maybe for the intermediate user who has a bit more knowledge about mastering processes. But BX Masterdesk Pro really takes a step forward. It's for the pro user who knows exactly what they want, and this plugin allows you to get it. So lots of changes, but the one thing that hasn't changed is how easy it is to dial in a tone really quickly using this plugin. Let's take a look at a few of the new features. First off, I want to take a look at this all-new compressor section, because the glue and clipper can really add some coloration and some loudness to the signal. So first off, the glue. Now this glue parameter is essentially setting the headroom for the compressor emulation, but really you can think of it as a more compression, less compression kind of thing. And that is going to be also governed by the ratio and the release as well. So listen, as I bring this glue control down, we're going to get a bit less compression, and we can go all the way up and get a really compressed kind of sound.
She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa.
So it's really gelling the mix together, but it doesn't feel like it's over compressing. It doesn't feel like it's really destroying the transients, because I've got control over this ratio as well. So currently I've got the ratio set to 3.2 to 1, but we can bring that all the way up. We can bring that up to almost 8 to 1, so we can get a far more compressed sound. And then the release is going to control how quickly it comes back to no compression, essentially. And we can bring that between 100 milliseconds or 130 milliseconds. So we can get a more compressed sound using the ratio and release controls in tandem, or a less compressed sound. The clipper is going to do a couple of things. First and foremost, it's going to shave off some of the transients, but it's going to do it in a slightly gentler way than the limiter would do, and it's going to help you to increase the overall loudness. So as I bring this clipper control down from completely zero and then all the way up, you're going to hear the mix just get bigger, and it's just going to get larger and allow the limiter to not work quite as hard at shaving off those peaks.
She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor.
And as we bring it up into that higher section in between 50 and 60, you're really noticing some loudness coming in there, and it's just helping everything just gel together. And that's what this compression section is really about, just helping the whole thing gel together, just glue the mix and just prepare it for the next section. In section number 2, you've got foundation, which you'll recognize from some of the previous BX Master Desk plugins. This is going to be accentuating the low end or the high end, but you've got 2 new features here as well. You've got XL and you've got THD. So THD is total harmonic distortion. This is how saturated the signal is. And then XL does something a bit special. This is to do with the saturation, and it's bringing it up, and it's again gelling the whole mix together. If I just bring this off and then bring it back on again, you're going to hear the significant difference.
She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance.
It's helping bring all that low level, low end stuff up, and it's just saturating the whole signal and just helping things again gel together so that we've got a nice big fat sounding master. In the limiter section, you've got the BX True Peak limiter integrated within the plugin. So True Peak is useful for what we call intersample peaks. If you've got any samples that are actually breaching that 0 dB point, that point of distortion, but are not getting caught by the traditional kind of limiter, then a True Peak limiter is going to remedy this straight away. It's going to not allow anything to pass through whatever sample rate you're working at. And we've got a release section for the limiter as well, so you can bring that down from very fast 3 milliseconds, or you can bring it all the way up to 100 milliseconds. You can make it slightly gentler on the release. And then the modern and classic are going to work on the other end. So this is to do with the attack. So the modern is going to be a really fast attack on the limiter, and the classic is going to be slightly slower. But within that limiter, you've got much of the functionality you know and love from BX Limiter True Peak, as well as the metering section in the center here. And you can set this to different LUFS levels, so you can govern how loud your mix is going to be, and you can meter that as well. At the moment, I've got this set to -10, so anything that goes above -10 is going to give me a red readout, so I know I'm running a little bit hot from my target of -10. Or you can set this to anything from louder, which is going to be -6, or you can set it right all the way down to -24. Depending on what kind of realm you're working in and what your expected delivery format is going to be. Now, the tone section you'll be familiar with from the previous BX Master Desk plugins, and you've got 4 controls here. You've got bass, middle, treble, and presence. What I really like to do with this is, in collaboration with a reference track, I like to use this as a gentle kind of EQ to just match my reference and just get it in the right ballpark. But previously, that's all we could do. Now we've got an EQ, a 3-band EQ that we can go in and we can really sculpt the tonal balance of our sound. So with the tone control, I've added a touch of mid and a bit more of high and presence, but these parameters are really gentle. Even though you're adding 12 on this parameter, you're not adding 12 dB. This is just gentle kind of boosts and gentle kind of cuts. But the EQ section is where we get the most tonal control, and each of these bands has a broad spectrum that it can boost or cut. So the low end goes from 20 all the way up to 2K, and then the mid frequency goes from 20 all the way up to 22K, and then the high frequency goes from 2K all the way up to 22K. So we've got a lot that we can do in those 3 parameters. But again, I'm not doing too much with this equalizer section, but you can really dig in using these EQ parameters. On the Q control on the low end and the high end, if you bring that all the way down to 0, then it actually engages the low shelf on the bottom end and the high shelf on the top end. So you can alter the Q all the way at the top from 15 all the way down, and then if you bring it all the way down to the left, you're actually on a shelf. So you can sculpt the low and high end and bring the whole thing up or bring the whole thing down, and then use the mid control as just a swept parametric EQ. That EQ is in addition to the high pass and low pass filters, which you can bring in and bring out. And these are going to help just shave off the super low end and super high end that is not really necessary in the mix but could cause problems with playback systems, etc. So the resonance filters have been redesigned as well with a couple of different bandwidths. We can make it really narrow, so we're just zoning in on a certain frequency, just a very narrow resonance, or we can make it slightly broader to dip out a slightly larger frequency area. What I like to do here is to go up to the auto solo function, and this means that when we click that button, when we then select a parameter, it's going to just solo in on what that parameter is doing. So we can do that on the resonance filters, we can do it on a couple more on the EQ as well, but for the resonance filters, it's really useful because it allows us to zone in on that specific resonance that we're finding to be an issue, and it's just going to notch it out slightly. So for two different ways of doing that, we've got something really narrow, which you'll hear now.
She came.
You can hear that resonance there. And then we can go a little bit less narrow, slightly broader.
She.
So with the two different types of cuts, we can hear two different things. If we've got a really pronounced kind of just one note, then we want to go to the slightly narrower bandwidth. If we've got something that is more of an overall kind of low mid build up, for example, then we go to something that is slightly more broad, and that's just going to just notch out the offending frequencies and give us something that's a bit smoother overall. The De-Esser you'll recognize from the previous iterations of the plugins, but here we can sweep the frequency. We can hear exactly where it is that we're going to be de-essing, and we can manually select that. So here I found that at around 6 kilohertz there was a little bit of SE build-up that I didn't necessarily want. It wasn't just the vocals on the S's, it was the overall cymbals and the overall guitars as well, and this is going to help you to just tame that and just get a nice smooth master, because we can EQ all we want, but occasionally we're going to want to retain some brightness, but in certain areas just slightly tame that brightness, and that's what the EQ, the tone and the De-Esser are going to do in collaboration with each other, and this is all aimed at getting a nice smooth master for the final product. So the mid-side section has been redesigned as well with a few more features. We've got stereo enhance, pan mono, mono maker and stereo width. So firstly, if the center of your mix is sitting slightly to one side, then you can just drag that slightly to the left or slightly to the right. In my mix, it's actually fine, but it's good to know that you've got that there. Then the mono maker, as you will have seen in the previous versions of the BX Master Desk line, you can allow just the low end to be mono. So any stereo kind of spread mid-side stuff that you're doing is not going to take effect to anything below the set frequency here. Here I've got it set to 130 hertz. And then the two controls that really govern the overall width of your mix are stereo enhance and stereo width. And I'm just going to bring some of those down and bring them up, and you're going to see how much wider this is actually going to get.
She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor singing whoa, whoa. She came to me on the dance floor singing.
We're getting a nice wide master there, which is so much more pleasing to listen to, something that wraps around the listener. And these four modes that we've got, A, B, C and D, we can actually hear exactly what these modes are doing, again by using the solo function at the top. If we just solo the sides and then change these from A, B, C and D, you can hear exactly what those stereo enhancement functions are doing. So starting off on A. It's a nice way of kind of soloing in and zoning in on exactly what it is you're going to be doing to your master. For mine, I decided on C. I felt that that kind of fitted the mix best when I was listening to the whole thing together. This BX Master Desk Pro from Brainworx is included in the Mega Bundle, which you can get a free 14-day trial of now. You can really take your masters to the next level and really get in depth in a way that you weren't able to with the previous Master Desk iterations. The original Master Desk and Master Desk True Peak, as I said, are great for the composer, the creator, the person who is not a mastering engineer, who doesn't know the in-depth functionalities. But when we go up to the Master Desk Pro, this is where you can really get so deep into your mix and actually make that mix into a full master in such great depth. So go grab your free trial now to see for yourself what this plugin can really do.